So this video is going to be looking at the new CJIS 6.0 that was recently released. It's 500 and some pages long. There's a lot of information in there that you need to be aware of and that you need to follow and that your systems need to follow. And so we're going to pull up a prompt that I just ran and we'll run it again. But this is basically the screen lock. So Chief brought up like, well, how long, before your screen has to lock, and it looks like this was an update. I don't remember what it was in the prior policy, but it's interesting. So I'll bring it up, and when I go to my history, it automatically reruns it. So according to policy, how long do I have before my screen needs to lock? And then of course I'm referencing the CJIS policy that was just released, and it tells me that it needs to be within 30 minutes, and then I have to re-authenticate and re-establish my connection to do that. So then I can ask some additional questions. What are the details of the exception?
Well, while he's working on that, just so we want to find out these details, but it's, we all know that the CJIS policy is huge. And you have one person in the department probably that is responsible for trying to regurgitate all of these rules. But we all know that it becomes very difficult for people to be able to keep up with everything. And quite frankly, we need the entire department to be responsible for understanding the rules. And it's hard to have that gatekeeper system and that person only knowing all of the rules and knowing all of the information. So now suddenly AI has brought this whole world to our fingertips where you may not review this manual very often, but suddenly you're in a place where, okay, we're needing to upgrade and I'm in charge of the new MDCs that are going out in all of the patrol cars, and I need to know how long they're supposed to lock. And IT guys ask me, when do I need to set the screen lock? And I have no idea. And so all of a sudden now I can just go in here, throw this into Copilot, and I can ask it, and it's going to give me these questions. And now the IT is going to give me other questions maybe that I need to know to tell him. But now suddenly I have all of this information. It's a lot easier than saying, I don't know, Susan or Jim or our people are go-tos on that, and they're not in until next week, so we'll have to wait until then. And then all of the MDCs are delayed and getting installed, all these issues that always come up. We can circumvent this by just having knowledge at our fingertips. So what's the next prompt you put in there, Dave?
Yeah, so I asked, what are the details of the exceptions? Because it said that there was exceptions to the rule. And it's funny enough, you mentioned the vehicles, and it says devices in criminal justice conveyances, meaning that vehicles are exempt from the 30-minute lock rule, which is interesting, right? That if it's in your vehicle, it doesn't have to lock in 30 minutes, which I guess makes a little bit of sense that if you're on patrol, you don't want to be driving down the road and really need to be using your computer, and all of a sudden the screen locks and you got to go through some authentication process to get in it. So it's interesting, although I guess as a layperson, I would think, well, what about if I had to jump out of my vehicle? Would I want anyone else to be able to get in there and get on the screen? So anyway, it's interesting. Physically secure locations. So this is for like dispatchers, and then secured staff facilities. So then a follow-on question to this is, what's considered a physically secure location? And one of the things I love about this that I wish, I think back to my days in the Army, and the Army's got a million policies, right, that you're supposed to follow to the letter every single day, and it seems like there's always somebody who knows the policies. We used to call it walking around knowledge. They would say, no, that's what the regulation says. And turns out that they're half right, or maybe they had remembered something from when they started their career 40 years ago, and it's updated, that I can now have earrings in my nose and braids in my hair. But this would have been perfect to be able to say, well, let's go look at the regulation. I didn't have to go break out a manual and dig through it. I could have just gone to an Army website on, grooming and uniform standards and looked this up. And I think this really is valuable at putting up-to-date information at people's fingertips, so that you don't end up with that's the way we've always done it, or that walking around knowledge because maybe you've just heard it several times and you haven't gone back and re-referenced the policy to make sure that you are following it and you do understand it. And then, so our prompt on physically secure locations, it referenced the policy again, and it gave us a detailed list with all the references to where this goes. And the references in Copilot, just as an aside, are going to take you to the document. If you need processes that say, I want to go to the page of the document that's specific to that, there are other ways to build co-pilots and agents and put it into other systems that are still within this same capability that will actually take you directly to the page. If that's a part of the things that, I mean, if you're just using it for knowledge, you probably don't need that kind of detail. If you need to be able to go to and reference a specific area and you want that highlighted for you, there are other processes that can be put in place. So,
And
Chief, anything
yeah,
else?
no, just say that we'll get out some videos on how to do that. But I think what we want you to be able to do is grab this manual, if you will, shelf ready, grab it, and you're going to be able to find these answers a lot faster than sitting there trying to thumb through the book for the next 2 hours to try and get some general idea on what that answer might be. And then, you can always, at least if it gives you some basic information, you can always do the search find technique in the Adobe file to at least try and find some of that sentence or paragraph somewhere and then get deeper into it as well. Now, obviously, we'll show you these agents, but the idea is we want you to just be able to have this at your fingertips very quickly and see that you can utilize this anytime without needing a lot of extra things at this point. So awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave. I think this really shows up just yet another way that you can, access information and gather answers quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would encourage everybody that at the point that you start using systems like this, have all of your policies in a place where people can just at their fingertips get to the heart of the information that's up to date and current. And there's ways to help it to maintain the updating of your policies. I know in the fire service, they said that on average, they update policy every 10 years because it's such a long, cumbersome process. Well, with generative AI, you should be able to do that on a much more frequent basis to keep up with things as they change.
Yeah.